Welcome to The Author Show, where we present new authors and books. From fiction to self-help and everything in between, you'll find it all here. To watch the TV version of our program, visit authorswebtv.com. That's authorswebtv.com. And now, let the show begin.
Hi, this is Linda Thompson, your host for The Author Show. Have you ever doubted your own abilities? Did you ever wonder if you could save the day? In the book Addie's World, Addie is a not-so-typical 8th grade student who lives in a world where all deciduous trees are hollow, and many have communities of very tiny beings living within them. Addie and her friends enjoy a good life in Maple Community until disaster strikes. Author Jo Marie is here to share more about Addie's World with us. Jo Marie, welcome to The Author Show.
Thank you, Linda. It's a privilege to be here with you today.
Please give us a short overview of Addie's World.
Addie's World is a realistic story inside of a fantasy setting. It's an 8th grade girl who doubts herself and needs support. Everything's going pretty well in the town until disaster strikes. Well, the adults of the town try to fix it, and the adults screw it up. So the kids have to step in and save the day. And it's Addie growing into the leader that has always been inside of her.
Where did your idea for the setting of the story in a tree come from?
Actually, that came over 30 years ago. My husband and I used to live in Chicago, and we were walking our dogs in a forest preserve out in the suburbs. And my dogs used to run past this tree every day, every weekend, and I would take a look at it. And it turned out it was rotting from the inside out. I don't suggest you do this, but I actually stuck my head inside the hollow tree, and yeah, I did it. And I started thinking this would be a cool place to put a story. It took me 30 years, but I did finally do it.
I love that. Did you write Addie's World with a particular type of reader in mind?
Basically, at the time I was a 5th grade teacher, so I was writing it to those students. My target audience, I have students reading from 4th grade up to 8th grade. There are younger students who love the story, but their teachers are reading it to them now.
Are your characters pure fiction, or do you draw from people you know?
Well, I guess I have to admit that it's people I know. There are 2 Addies in the story. There's an ADI Addie and an ADDY, and they are the best of friends, and I'm both of those characters. My name is Jo Marie, and it's a 2-part name. Jo is what we used to call the tomboy, and that's ADI Addie. And then there's the girly girl, Marie, and that's ADDY. The basis for the twins, Aiden and Jaden, actually came from my 2 sons. They've changed a lot since I started writing and became their own characters, but that's where the twins came from, and Arnie is a good friend of mine who is the logical voice in my head.
Is there another author you feel may have influenced your writing style?
I'm not sure if it influenced my writing style, but I've been a fan of J.R.R. Tolkien for ages. I read him as a kid, and my goal is to be able to write as well as he writes.
Is there an underlying theme to Addie's World, and does Addie learn a lesson?
Addie definitely learns a lesson. At the beginning, she's the klutzy girl who doesn't believe in herself. And through the help of a friend named Michael, and the challenges she has to face, she learns to trust in her own abilities and to become the leader that's inside of her.
Since the genre of Addie's World is a fantasy, do your characters have magical or special powers?
No, in reality, it's a fantasy setting, but it's a realistic fiction story. They're kids just like we are, and they face real problems. It's just that it all happens inside of a tree.
What is the ultimate message in Addie's World?
I guess it would be to believe in yourself and to trust the people in your life that are there to guide you.
Is Addie's World the first of a series? And if yes, how many more books do you have planned?
I had never planned on writing more than 1 book. When I started Addie's World, it was that 1 book. That was my dream, to be an author of that book. Somehow, in the middle of writing that story, the plot just kept getting bigger and bigger. Addie's World is now 4 books in a series, and I'm working on the 4th book now.
If you could compare Addie's World with any other book, what would that other book be?
Okay, now you got to make me think here. What comes to mind is a book that I read when I was about 10 years old, in 5th grade. Katie John, about a tomboy little girl who grows up and learns to become a leader. I have a feeling that's where part of this came from.
In your opinion, who could benefit most from reading Addie's World?
I'd love to say everybody in the universe so that everybody buys my book. It was written for my fifth grade students. And the goal is right in there. Anyone who doesn't believe in themselves, who needs that support of a trusting adult or a very good friend in their lives.
Well, you mentioned your fifth grade students. Have you taken Addie's World out and done readings at libraries and schools? And if yes, what has the reaction been?
Well, the first group that ever heard Addie was the fifth graders who, shall we say, pushed me into doing it. They heard the draft. The next year heard the second draft. And I have also now been doing author visits in the schools, and the kids like it. A lot of my former students are my audience now, and anytime they see me, they want to know when book 2 is coming out.
Well, I would think as a fifth grade teacher, you would have to have a very good sense of humor, and that comes through your voice here. So is there humor injected into Addie's World?
I wouldn't say there are jokes in Addie's World, but there is humor between the characters. The more I'm writing, the more that's coming out. I'm learning how to make the interactions between the characters more realistic, and the characters come alive through the humor, I think. They don't take themselves too seriously, I guess is the way to put it.
Do each of the 4 books follow through with Addie? In other words, is it Addie's World with something added to it? And is there a separate message to each one?
In book 1, it is strictly inside of the tree, and Addie is definitely the main character. There are 2 stinkers in book 1, Aiden and Jaden, who then come out of the tree. And Aiden and Jaden become the focus of the second book. When you come into the third book, all the different subplots come together. So at that point, the entire story is running. Book 2 set the scene and set the stage of what Addie's World is. That was book 1. Book 2 expands it into what I would call our world, the larger world, and then it comes back into the tree and to the other settings in books 3 and 4.
If you were writing an article introducing Addie to the world, what would the headline be?
I am Addie, and it's a phrase that I use in book 1. Every time Addie met her good friend Michael, he would always ask her one question: who are you, Addie? Well, Addie constantly answered with the phrase, I am Addie, and then she'd give a 3-word phrase. I am Addie, a different individual. I am Addie, a difficult incident. So since the reality is me, Jo Marie, I am Addie, my title would be I am Addie.
Where can our listeners learn more about you, and where can we purchase Addie's World?
You can go to my website, which is joesjourney.com. There's information about me there, and you can also purchase the books there. You can get the books through Westbow Press, and I know they are online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble and other online distributors.
In the minute that we have left, will you share with our audience what it is about Addie's World that makes it stand out?
Well, for me, it's the journey. Addie's World really is my journey. Me being the klutzy kid who became the girly girl, who developed into a leader and is now living her own dreams. The theme of my company is life's a journey, live your dreams. And to me, that's what Addie's World is all about. It's the journey of Addie growing up and finding out who she really is and who she can depend on.
Jo Marie, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you for sharing Addie's World with us, and I'd like to invite you back to discuss your next book.
Linda, thank you so much for letting me do this. It has been a privilege talking with you, and I would love to come back and talk about living the secret.
If you have ever doubted your own abilities, wondered if you could save the day, or if you just really don't believe in yourself, reading Addie's World could be helpful and just might save your day. This is Linda Thompson, concluding another edition of The Author's Show. Please share this interview with your friends and family so that they too may have the opportunity to discover our guest and her work. And why not help spread the word on social media as well? Please join us again next time for another exciting author and another great book on The Author's Show.
Thanks for listening to The Author's Show. To contact us, call toll-free 1-877-955-8800. That's 877-955-8800. Or visit theauthorshow.com. That's theauthorshow.com. Tune in next time to another great author on The Author's Show.